Hello, Feuzion. My name is Alex Feuzion. You are watching a brand new Sports Fusion episode. We have a big show planned out tonight. We got Wally Matthews, who is an ESPN.com New York Yankees beat writer. So, Wally, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Alex. How are you?
Good. And I actually got the chance to meet you yesterday at the Yankee game yesterday, and I have a picture right here of me and you. And I want to say thanks for taking the time, and I enjoyed meeting you yesterday.
Same here. It was my pleasure. It was nice meeting you and your mom as well.
Yes, definitely. Yep. And I know that you have your own radio show every Sunday mornings on, I think it's 98.7. Is that right?
That's right. 98.7 FM, ESPN New York. The show is on from 7 to 9 a.m. every Sunday. It's myself and Adam Rubin, who's my colleague on the Mets at ESPN.com.
Right.
And right now we're calling it Balls and Strikes, but I am open to suggestions, but I'm not thrilled with the name.
Now, I saw that a few days ago on Twitter you tweeted out about suggestions. I have one. How about Line Drive?
Okay. Line Drive.
Yeah.
All right. I'll throw it in. I'll see what Adam thinks about it. I like it.
Because, you know,
I think it's better than Balls and Strikes.
A lot of people are, listening to the radio while driving, and, it's, line, a phone line. So, I mean, you can call in, and you're on the line when you're driving. How about that?
The more I think about it, it's brilliant.
Thank you. So, I mean,
you.
Huh? Yeah, no problem. And the Yankees have won the past 2 games, and I mean that's a big accomplishment if you're thinking about it. On a 2-game win streak against the best team in the AL, if you want to say that. The Rangers have the best record. And, I mean, what do you think about this Yankee team right now?
It's really hard to know, Alex. It's so hard to get a handle on how good this team is. I mean, frankly, I fear that they're pretty much mediocre, that this is going to go on all season. They're going to hover around 500. Every once in a while, they'll do something that makes you think they're better than that, and every so often they'll do some things that'll make you think they're not as good as that. And I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem for the front office because they're not quite good enough to be buyers, and they're not quite bad enough to be sellers. So you don't really know, what to do around the trade deadline right now.
Yeah, I know. And a lot of people are talking about A-Rod not, being his fault. I know on Twitter you are, joking aside. It's A-Rod's fault. But, I mean, A-Rod has been hitting maybe a little bit better. He had 2 hits yesterday. If A-Rod starts hitting, do you think we can stop talking about cutting A-Rod and getting rid of A-Rod before next season?
Yeah, I think it's a dumb discussion anyway. I don't think the Yankees are going to do that. I don't think they're going to eat $31 million, especially for a guy who hit 33 home runs last year and basically is on pace. I mean, if he gets 400 to 500 at-bats this year, he's on pace to hit 24, 25 home runs. I mean, come on. What are you expecting from a guy 41 years old? And yes, I am joking on Twitter. I don't think people get it all the time, but it's kind of a parody on, everybody hates Alex. Like everything is his fault. I kind of think he was scapegoated here a little bit by the Yankees. I mean, who you replace? You're basically replacing him with Aaron Hicks. Because Carlos Beltran can be in the lineup anyway. He'll be in right field or he'll be in the DH. So you're not replacing Alex with Carlos Beltran. You're replacing his bat with Aaron Hicks, who certainly, first of all, is hitting lower than Alex. I know Alex only hit about 219. Maybe it's a little higher now after the 2 hits yesterday. But, Aaron Hicks barely at 200 and certainly doesn't give you the long ball threat. So, I don't quite get it. I don't understand, why. I mean, there's so many guys you can point to in the Yankees lineup who have been awful. Teixeira's been awful. He was especially bad yesterday. When they needed him to come through, he didn't do anything. So there is an element of scapegoating with Alex, I think. And I think that the fans, there are some fans, look, Alex is polarizing. There are some fans who do want to blame him for everything, and there are others who think he gets blamed for too many things. In this particular instance, I will tell you, I think that he's being blamed for the wrong things.
Definitely. And with Teixeira, you said not hitting as well, and he asked for a day off the other day because his knee, who has torn cartilage in his knee. Do you agree with the Yankees' decision of not having him be on the DL and is still playing with a torn cartilage? Do you agree with that decision by the Yankees?
Well, I don't really think they have an alternative, and I think that's kind of their own fault because they didn't plan for the, listen, I think a lot of us realize there's going to be some point where Mark Teixeira gets hurt and will not be able to play this year, because it's happened every year for the past 5 years. To think that it would be otherwise is just crazy. And they don't really have a viable backup. I mean, they obviously the plan was that Greg Bird would be the backup, but he got hurt way back in January. They knew he was going to be out. So, I mean, the fact that, they're making this decision is basically of necessity, because Rob Refsnyder has a good bat, but he's really not a first baseman, and they don't have anybody else who can step in and do that job. So, yeah, they need to force Teixeira back into the lineup, even if he's not healthy.
Yep. Okay, well, I want to take a few minutes here. Let's fast forward to the season. Let's say it's July 20th, and you are the Yankees general manager, and the Yankees team is 5 games below 500. Do you trade Brett Gardner or another piece of this Yankee team and, sell the team off?
Well, I think the first thing that you do, and what's really important, I don't know if it's as important how many games below 500 they are, but where are they in the wild card hunt? Because I think the Yankees believe that if you just get to the postseason, then anything can happen. I don't really agree with that. I mean, I think we saw what happened. I think the wild card game is a crapshoot, and generally means that you're going to have basically your postseason is just a one game.
Right.
But I would think what I would do is I'd be shopping Chapman right now. I mean, there's no need for 3 closes, and I think that Andrew Miller is better than Chapman, quite honestly. I'm not going by gun readings. I'm going by which guy is more unhittable, and I think Andrew Miller is the most unhittable arm they have, even including Kansas. I would hold on to him because you got him for 2 more years at an affordable number. You got team control over Betances at a ridiculously cheap number. The guy that you're not going to have next year is Chapman. I would move him, see what I could get for him. I mean, if you start selling off pieces like Beltran, like Brett Gardner, you're basically telling your fan base, we're done for this year. Don't come back anymore for the last 2 months of the season. I just don't see the Yankees doing that, even though if they were a different organization in a different city, I think you would say, of course they're going to do that, because this happens all the time all around baseball. It doesn't happen in the Bronx. They got a big stadium to fill. They're not going to, they're already down in attendance. I just can't imagine them basically telling their fan base, go home for the rest of the year, we'll see you next year. I mean, they already have enough evidence as it is. I don't think they're going to do that.
And our last question here is before we wrap up this interview. I want to ask you a question about the Mets. I know your co-host on tomorrow or Sunday's morning's radio show is a Mets beat writer, but the Mets haven't been that well in the past few weeks as well. What would you think the Mets need to do to become that better team in the next coming weeks with the trade deadline approaching quickly?
Well, assuming that the starting pitching is healthy, and there are some big question marks there. They have a great starting staff. There's no doubt about that. And I think the closer is good. I think he showed himself to be good last night, Familia, in the game against the Cubs. They had a big win against the Cubs for the first game of that series. That's an important series to them. They obviously need to add a bat because they're just not scoring enough runs. They're way too reliant on the home run. It's something we saw with the Yankees a couple of years ago where, if they didn't homer, they didn't win, basically. The Mets have trouble building runs if they're not hitting the long ball, and I think they need to add a bat. I think but quite honestly, you're right. My colleague Adam Rubin would know better who the Mets would be needing to part with and who they could get. But I think, clearly their needs are offensive more than pitching.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you for taking the time to do this interview, and it was a pleasure to meet you yesterday, and I'll be listening on Sunday morning.
All right, thank you. And hey, don't forget, I'm filling in tomorrow, Saturday morning, for Dave Rothenberg. I'll be on from 10 to 12. I'm going to talk Mets and Yankees. And I'm also going to talk about Mike Tyson, who I covered in his heyday, and he just turned 50 years old yesterday, and that was kind of a blow to me. I'm sure it was to him as well.
Yep. Okay, Wally, make sure you follow him on Twitter. Where can they find you on Twitter?
At ESPN NY Yankees.
Okay, perfect. Make sure you follow him and listen to all his radio shows. He's great. Thanks for watching, Fuse Nation. I will see you next month.